Have you ever looked at someone so famous, so untouchable, and thought, there's no way they could ever feel what I feel? I mean, come on. They've got the money, the fans, the awards, the life most of us could only dream about. Their names are on billboards, their faces on magazine covers. They're the ones walking red carpets while we're just scrolling on our phones. But then, out of nowhere, something happens. Something raw. Something real. And you realize, wow, they're human too. That's exactly what happened when Johnny Depp sat in front of a simple camera, in a quiet room, and just broke. No special effects. No costume. No script. Just a man. And what he said? It didn't feel like a statement. It felt like a whisper from someone who's been silent for far too long. And yet, somehow, that whisper hit louder than any headline ever could. Millions watched. And millions cried. Not because he's famous. But because what he said? It felt like something we all needed to hear. Now picture this. The room is dimly lit. You can hear the hum of the camera. No crew in the background. No lights flashing. Just Johnny. Hair slightly messy. Eyes tired. Hands resting in his lap like he's unsure of what to do with them. And the silence lingers. You can tell he's trying to gather himself. You can almost feel the weight on his chest through the screen. Then finally, he speaks. I'm sorry. 2 simple words. But they land like a punch to the gut. Because the way he says them, it's not rehearsed. It's not performed. It's broken. It's shaky. Like he's apologizing not just for one thing, but for everything. For the silence. For the chaos. For the confusion. Maybe even for surviving. He goes on to say that he thought if he stayed quiet, things would eventually calm down. That maybe time would smooth the edges. That maybe people would stop looking at him like he was a headline and remember that he was human. But instead, the silence got louder. The stillness turned to loneliness. The quiet became unbearable. And maybe you felt that too. That feeling of holding everything in, hoping things will fix themselves, only to find that the silence becomes a storm inside you. That you're not healing, you're just hiding. And the longer you hide, the harder it is to come out. Johnny said something that really stayed with people. He said, I wasn't just losing roles. I was losing myself. Think about that. This is a man who's played pirates, poets, misfits, and legends. A man who's made people laugh, cry, and believe in magic. And yet, in the middle of all that, he was falling apart. And no one saw it. Or maybe they did, and looked away. He started talking about the fear. The fear of waking up to a new headline every day. The fear of seeing his name dragged through the mud by people who had never met him. The fear of his children reading things online before he could explain. The fear of facing himself in the mirror. He said some mornings, he couldn't even look at his phone. Because just the idea of what might be waiting for him there, was too much. And there's something so deeply painful about that. Because we live in a world where people are judged by tweets, where stories are twisted before the truth even has a chance to speak. And when it happens to a stranger, we scroll past. But when it happens to someone you've watched on screen your whole life, someone who once brought you joy, it hits different. And Johnny? He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He was just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of holding it together. Tired of carrying things he never asked for. And then he said something I'll never forget. I wasn't living. I was just existing. And if you've ever felt that way, even for a moment, you know exactly what he means. That strange, empty feeling of going through the motions. Of laughing when expected. Of saying, I'm fine, when you're anything but. Of showing up. but not really being there. He reached over to his side and picked up this old notebook. You could tell it had been through a lot. The cover was worn. The pages bent. It looked like the kind of thing someone writes in when they can't speak to anyone else. And he flipped through it slowly. Like every page held a version of him he wasn't ready to revisit. And then he read a line that made the world go quiet. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is cry. And that's where people lost it. Because strength has always been sold to us as silence. As smiling through pain. As pushing forward no matter what. But here was Johnny Depp, one of the most iconic actors of our time, saying that crying is strength too. And maybe that's what we needed to hear. That it's okay to feel. That it's okay to admit you're hurting. That you don't have to wear a mask every day just to be accepted. And then, just when you thought your heart couldn't take any more, he did something that completely shattered people. He said thank you. Not to the press. Not to the studios. But to you. To the people who believed in him when the world turned away. To the ones who didn't just cancel him the moment things got messy. To the ones who said, we see you. And we still care. He looked directly into the lens, like he was looking into your eyes, and said. To the ones who didn't walk away. The ones who didn't believe the worst of me. You saved me, more than you'll ever know. And that's the thing about kindness. You never really know the impact it's having. A comment. A message. A like. A prayer. They might seem small. But to someone who's drowning, they can be a lifeline. There's a moment near the end of the video where he just pauses. You can see his lips trembling. He's trying to hold it together. And then he lets out a breath, like he's been holding it for years. And what he says next? It's the kind of line that stays with you forever. He says, please. Don't let your pain turn you cruel. And that's when you realize, this isn't just a video about Johnny Depp. It's a mirror. A reminder of what we all go through behind closed doors. A quiet plea to choose compassion, even when it hurts. To stay soft in a world that tells you to harden up. Because hurt people hurt people. But healed people? They heal others. And that's the message Johnny was trying to share. Not that he's perfect. Not that he's innocent or misunderstood or a victim. But that he's human. That we all are. And that maybe, just maybe, if we could see each other that way more often, if we could offer grace instead of judgment, empathy instead of outrage, the world might be a little softer. A little kinder. A little safer. And it starts with one person saying, I'm not okay. And someone else replying, it's okay not to be. So I want to ask you something now. Have you ever told someone you were fine, when you were breaking inside? Have you ever smiled through pain so no one would ask questions? If you have, I want you to know, you're not alone. And you don't have to carry it all by yourself anymore. Johnny's video wasn't a performance. It was a moment of truth. One man, stripped of everything, just trying to feel seen. And in doing that, he helped us feel seen too. So if this story touched you, even in a small way, share it. Not just for Johnny. But for yourself. For someone you love. For someone who needs to know they're not the only one crying behind closed doors. And if you're still here, listening, thank you. That means you care. That means you felt it too. And if you want to dive deeper into Johnny's journey, into the moments that made him, the moments that broke him, and the ones that helped him heal, we've got another story coming. One that'll make you see him in a whole new light. Until then, be kind. Be honest. And if you need to cry, cry. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you can do, is feel. And sometimes, that one moment of truth, no matter how quiet, can echo louder than 1,000 headlines ever could.